Today we are here to bless the coming events for the SCARE organization. They will be having a Gathering of Nations programs throughout the summer. And we're asking the blessings upon all the participants and all the staff and the organization as a whole. We ask the blessings upon the organization that provides services to the Indian community in San Diego. We ask the Creator to continue to bless them and take care of them, prevent them from any harm. Any kind of pandemic that is coming around, we ask the protection from the Great Spirit to take care of the organization of SCARE and all that are concerned with it. We ask the Great Spirit to continue to bless the organization, that it may continue to provide the services to Native Americans of the county of San Diego. We ask special blessings upon the board of directors, the executive director, Wanda Mickles, that she may continue to provide the needed services to the Native Americans that need those services throughout the year. We thank you for the gift that has been given to our community from the different federal agencies, that they may be able to help our people with provisions and services that are necessary to accomplish livelihood for those that are participating in these programs. We thank you for all the things that you do for us, Creator. Aho Donkey, thank you.
Auka, what they would say here, because this was Kumeyaay village. Still is a Kumeyaay village when you close your eyes. I chose this spot because of that fact, that we also do the powwow here, so there's been a lot of energy put here. And despite the city and the town behind me, this land still belongs to the Kumeyaay. This dance that I'm doing is for everybody. I mean the whole world, because each step, each feather is a prayer. It's a blessing, and we definitely need that in these days and times. So I want to thank you for letting me do this dance for the people. And Tehovit, yeah, we say Tehovit in my language, the Tonva of Pimu, Catalina Island. I am Wambly Ishta Wachapisapa, the Black Star-Eyed Eagle, also known as Stephen Garcia, my mission name, Mission Impossible. I'm a Tongva. And so I'll light the smudge in honor of the people that were here, the people that will be here, the people that will always be here, and for the next generations coming. In keeping with what I traditionally do, is I always like to play a short song to set the tone, to help bring in the spirits, let everybody know we're like this hollow bone, this hollow cedar flute. I have to turn this way or Mother Nature will try and help me sound like a goose.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla Hilario. I am a member of the Ione Band of Miwok Indians up north, outside of Sacramento. I was lucky enough to work at SCARE and, to work under Wanda. And she has asked me to come back today and just to talk to you a little bit about my career journey and how I've gotten kind of where I am today. So I'll start off by letting you know that I was raised by two loving parents in Sacramento. My dad instilled a really strong work ethic. He would go to work at 5 in the morning, and I learned this later, that he actually didn't start work until about 8 o'clock. So he would go to work and enjoy his coffee and read the newspaper until it was time for him to go inside. He only worked about a half an hour away. So that was really interesting, getting to work 2 hours early to read the paper. And then my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she also worked really hard making a home for us and made dinner every single night and babysat some of the kids in the neighborhood and made sure that we weren't being teased at school. One of the kids she babysat was special needs, and she actually hid in the bush one time so she could see if the kids were teasing her. So she could address it. So really loving and supportive family growing up, and they had a really strong work ethic, which they helped instill in me. I also had two older sisters and a younger brother, and my oldest sister is super smart and in calculus and honors classes, and she went to UCLA when I was in 5th grade. So my family not having a lot of money, of course we couldn't take her to school. My parents had 3 other kids at home and could not take her to college and set her up like most parents would want to do when your kid is moving to this ginormous city. So they bought her a plane ticket and she was sent off to UCLA by herself. My other sister was also really inspiring. She had a baby when she was 16 years old, so she was a teen mom. She went to a continuation school for a time and then came back to our normal high school, and we were able to finish out her senior year when I was a freshman in high school, and we got to play on the same softball team, and she finished and graduated with her class, and then she went off to the local university, Sacramento State, with her little toddler in tow. So she would ride the city bus to college and take the baby and drop him off at the child development program. And so that was also, another inspiring story in my family. And then of course there was me, and my brother decided to go a different route. And he decided to, I'm sorry about my dog. He decided to get knowledge. He decided to get his, he went to a trade school and learned about cars. And so he's a mechanic, and now he works on fixing up cars and selling them. And that's kind of his career path. But so I had a lot of encouragement growing up and seeing my older sisters do really well. School kind of came sort of easily for me. I mean, math wasn't the best, but I did well in English, and I kind of felt like I wanted to follow my sisters and go to college. And I realized that college is only one pathway to success. Not everybody takes the pathway I chose. Some people will stay in a job for many, many years and work their way up the chain. Some people might go to a trade school. Others might try different occupations until they find what suits them best. And so there's a lot of different pathways to success. College is just one of them. So I hope you don't hear my story and think that I'm pushing college, because that's not what I'm doing. I hope that you find what makes you successful and decide what your career path is. And that might not necessarily be college, but for me it was. So I went off to college. I went to the local university, Sacramento State, and I was so lost. I was in this huge university. For the first time, I was seeing these very big differences of people with a lot of privilege, and then of course me not having any privilege. My family, having one working parent and 4 kids. Obviously we lived in poverty. We didn't have a lot of money, and so I saw this other side of things, and I felt really out of place. My class sizes were huge. I didn't really meet a lot of people that I felt really good connections with. We had some native students, but the Native group on campus was very sporadic. They didn't meet very often, and it was hard to find them. I tried to fit in with the Mexican American population, but of course they all spoke Spanish, and I really didn't feel like I fit in there either. And then I would ask like some of the students if I had to miss class for their notes, and I would get a third degree on why I wasn't in class that day. And I felt really out of place. So I never really felt like I thrived. I kind of just, child development classes were easy. And so I was like, let me take this path. So I got my degree in child development. And so many times I wanted to quit. And my brother-in-law would encourage me, and he would tell me, Kayla, I hated going to class. I hated everything about going to school, but I really love having my degree. And so, you know, with that in the back of my mind, I was able to finish school, and I was able to graduate finally with my BA degree. And you know, so that was good. I finished. When I finished school, I landed at a small nonprofit in Sacramento, and this was a statewide group, and I worked in the child care department, and we had subsidy programs for federally recognized tribes. And so we would travel around the state, giving presentations and trying to get tribes to sign up with our program, so that we could pay child care on behalf of their families that were working or going to school. And that was kind of where I grew up a lot. I was there for 12 years. I was this very shy, timid girl, and my boss was in another location, but he was always encouraging me. So we would meet up at these different tribes, and he would do his presentation, and I was kind of there for his support. But eventually he started telling me that, you know, or not telling me, things would come up and he wouldn't be able to make it. And I would have to, you know, give this presentation to a tribal council, or give this presentation to a tribal membership of, you know, it could be anywhere from 5 to 50 people. And it was super nerve-wracking, but he always kept challenging me, and I appreciate that now. But at the time, I was so mad at him, and I was like, why does he always keep doing this to me? But it really challenged me to step up, you know, to make those presentations, and to really get a lot more comfortable with public speaking, which is kind of important in this line of work, and with Native Americans, and social services can be important. So I rose to the challenge. I did that for a long time. We did everything in grants, from writing it to writing the reports to administering the funds, and really learned a lot there. But I also saw a lot of fiscal mismanagement in the Native American communities. So one of the healthcare departments had healthcare centers for Native people have closed down due to financial mismanagement. And the organization that I was working at even owed the federal government $100,000 because they mismanaged a Head Start program they had had previously. So I saw all this mismanagement, and I wanted to do something to help, and I knew I needed more skills. So I decided to go back to school and get a master's degree, and I decided to get a master's in nonprofit leadership and management. So I found this school down here, University of San Diego, and they advertise small class sizes, 30 kids or less, 30 students or less, small cohorts. So I came down here for college in 2012. I really loved my teachers. They were super supportive. I thought I was a really good writer, but I wasn't at the same level as the other students. And my teachers would meet with me after class and go through my papers with me line by line, and refer me to the writing center where I could really get supports that I needed, and tutoring that I needed to be more successful in the program. And I really enjoyed my teachers. One of my professors would even tell me, you know, encourage me, that at the time there was only 16 Native Americans in higher ed programs and postgraduate degree programs, so in master's and PhD programs at that school. And there's not a lot of people that are Native Americans that are getting master's degrees and higher. And so I really felt supported and encouraged by my professors. My class sizes were small. We worked in small cohorts, and I could depend on my classmates for help and studying together. And most of our projects were as a group. And then, of course, they had the writing center. I had my teacher support to meet with me after hours, and a lot of different supports. So I really enjoyed going to school at USD, and they even had a Native American program that was active, led by Percy Lewis. And so the Native students would get together and just have dinner and just support each other however we could, with different things on campus. And so I really found my home there. I loved it. I graduated. I did fail my finance class, and I had to retake that. but that failing is all part of growing and making it to the next level. So that finance was a challenge. I took that class again. I did graduate, and then I found SCARE, and I was able to land a position as career counselor at SCARE, and then I was able to move up through the ranks, and I found a position as MIS specialist, doing a lot of the computer intake and the enrollment of participants, and then finally landed as programs coordinator. And so I really love my SCARE family. That was, the best job of all time. I was pregnant with my first son. I was able to bring him to work with me. There was really that family atmosphere, and every staff person and community member was so supportive. And you don't find that at a lot of employers. And so Wanda makes this place really special. Frank, Mo, all the SCARE staff there makes this place super special. And I hope that you will take advantage of all the supports that you have there. And with TANF too, they have a very supportive program. So I was able to grow and be challenged there to keep moving forward and keep learning the next thing in my career. And then a position opened up with the state of California as census coordinator, and I decided to throw my hat in the ring. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to get this position. It's a governor's appointed position, and I'm sure there's tons of eligible Native Americans who are applying. And I thought, I'll try it, but I know I'm not going to get it. And I interviewed for the position, and I got it, and I was shocked. It was kind of all about being ready when the opportunity presents itself. So you may have heard that quote, success is being ready when an opportunity presents itself. And so that's kind of what that was. And I felt I had nothing to lose. I already loved my job. So I went into that position, interview confident, and I was able to obtain that position. And, that was another very, very challenging position. I was among, a whole different group of professionals now. I was, presenting to the tribal advisor to the governor's office, to executive directors across the state for different Native American programs, to tribal leaders, to tribal council members, to tribal communities. One of my most nerve-wracking things I did was I was on a panel of experts that were presenting to over 100 news outlets across the country. And my role was talking about the barriers to census work, to counting Native Americans in the census for the 2020 census. So I was on this panel of like 5 other experts and presenting to news outlets across the country. So there's a lot of techniques that you can do, like when you're nervous. One of them is like that I did a lot during my census work is like grabbing the bottom of your chair and just pulling it up, and you just kind of let out a lot of aggression. And you can kind of do it when, not a lot of people can see you do that, but that's kind of one way to let go of some of those jitters. But again, just always being challenged to the next position is what I've found is kind of part of being successful, is to do it anyway. And so even though I was very nervous and I was being challenged and I really didn't want to do this, I did it anyway. And now I'm a lot more comfortable with public speaking and public work, even though it's still nerve-wracking. So even doing this Zoom for you all today is still nerve-wracking, but it's all part of learning and growing and getting to the next level. So the census work was very meaningful to me. I was able to still work with Native people and Native communities, and on this much bigger scale. So that was really important work for me. And then I was able to move into the vaccine task force, the COVID-19 vaccine task force, where I was doing outreach for Native communities in vaccines. And that was also another challenging position. There was nothing in place. This COVID world is new to all of us. And the campaign, I was told, we need to do outreach to Native American communities and make sure they have everything they need to vaccinate their communities if they choose to. And so there was no rules, no guidebook, no instruction. It was just like, you're Native, you can do this, go do it. So that was another challenge. But I realized that there was something to the state work, really great benefits. Being my age, early 40s, now I need to start I should have started thinking about retirement a long time ago, but I'm thinking about it now. And some of the, these state positions come with good retirement. So I was able to apply for another position in the state, which is licensing for elder care programs with great benefits and, still helping vulnerable populations. I hope that eventually my next goal will be to work in the Office of Tribal Affairs at the state level. But for now, for the next couple of years, I think I will enjoy, helping these vulnerable populations and making sure elder care homes are safe. But part of success, I've heard, is always reaching for that next goal. And so, my next goal is going to be, trying to work with tribal populations again at the state level. But I wanted to share a short video by a guy named DJ Vanis. And I heard from him about 15 years ago. He is a Native American motivational speaker, and he's awesome. You can find many of his videos on YouTube for free, like this one. I'm going to show you a 10-second clip. His name is DJ Vanis, V-A-N-A-S, and he has some amazing stories that I think you will enjoy. One of the ones that I really liked was when I heard him in person a long time ago. He talks about water, and water never gives up. So water might come to a rock or a wall, but it'll go over, it'll go under, it'll go around. It always finds a way. And so in part of his motivational speaking, he says to be like water, find a way. And I hope that you will enjoy this short little clip.
Hopefully we can draw some inspiration from our past warriors. Our warriors who fought for instance, our tribal communities, dealt with some incredible deprivations. They fought against incredible odds with scarce resources, and they dealt with fear. But they found a way through it. They didn't let fear stop them. They acted in the face of it. And that's called courage. And I also want you to remember that a warrior's best asset is not their mind. It's not their martial or physical strength. A warrior's best asset is their warrior spirit, which is a spirit that says, I will find a way forward and I will not quit, ever.
So again, that was DJ Vanis. Sorry, that was a little longer than 10 seconds, but I hope that you enjoyed that. You can find him, like I said, on YouTube. He's amazing. But I hope that you will find what inspires you and keep working hard and never give up. Invest in yourself, take pride in your work. And lastly, I just want to share one of my favorite quotes of all times is all work is a self-portrait of the person who does it. Autograph your work with excellence. So no matter what you do or who's watching or how hard it is or how challenging it is, to always do your best work and keep striving for the next best thing. And I'm sure that you will find success in your career and in your life. Thank you so much for letting me be here with you guys for a few minutes. And I hope that you've enjoyed this. Thanks again.
Hi everybody, my name is Julie DeFilippi and I work for SCARE. I'm the youth coordinator here, and today we're going to do a class on medicine pouches. We'll start off with introductions. So you already know my name, Julie DeFilippi, and I'm part Aleut and Italian on my dad's side, and I'm born and raised in San Diego.
Ladies first.
I'm Kathy Wilkutz. I'm Lakota. I was born on the Cheyenne River Reservation in South Dakota. My father's from the Rosebud Reservation, also Lakota. I am the Tupi cultural educator here, and I'll now turn it to Stephen.
Hey, my name is Stephen. I am the Black Star-Eyed Eagle. I'm Tongva Meha Tehovit. I'm also Mescalero, Apache, and Yaqui from my Nana side. And yeah, I'm here today to join in this class and get started.
All right, so we have some material here in front of us. Stephen, since you're more familiar with all the different types of fabrics that we have out here today. Will you please explain to the class? Because I know we're going to be teaching the youth, and I know some parents are out there, and maybe some of you guys aren't even familiar with medicine pouches. So Stephen and Kathy are here, and they're great.
Nice. What we're doing today is basically the sewing aspect of putting a pouch together. And before you can do that, a lot of times we'll take a nice hide. You can get hides at different places, such as Tandy, such as different leather shops or hobby shops. They sell them in little swatches. And what I usually do is I'll take a piece, say like this, and let me set this aside for a second. Take a piece like this and decide how big do I want my pouch, right? And if you're going for a small pouch, which we generally go with when we're teaching classes, you can actually, after you make the pouch, you can put a holes through the top and cinch it like that and wear it. Or you can keep it in your pocket, you know, wrap it around. Basically, when we say medicine pouch, it's to keep your stones or tobacco in it. So when you see something that needs an offering, or you feel like you're in a place that needs an offering, you do things like that. But I'll let them elaborate more on that. What I do is, you know, I can do it by eye, but I know a lot of people want to use a ruler. You can use a ruler and figure out, okay, like this little piece right here, which I'm more than likely going to trim the top to because it's kind of off. Or you can leave it natural like that. A lot of times, natural edges off the top look cool too. Because I'm going to fold this one right here registers about 9 inches. So when you fold it, it comes out to about, I want you guys to see that too. So yeah, when you fold it, it's just like about 4.5 inches. And then what we do is, if you get leather needles that are really sharp, they can go through it, depending on the thickness of the material too. Like with this suede right here, Kat wanted to work on a bigger and thicker pouch, and this is pretty much cow suede. And when I say suede, I mean on each side it's fuzzy, whereas in some materials it'll be slick on one side and fuzzy on the other side, or slick on both sides. But this is double-sided suede, and you can tell with the lightness on one side, and that this was the inner side. And with a lot of tribal people, different tribes have their ways. A lot of them like the fuzzy on the outside. And with this one, because it's so thick, we use it all like that. You can get a hole puncher, but it makes big holes. You want a smaller one. And the way I usually do that is, you know, I find where I'm going to put it, and I push it into the, oh God, eyeballs, eh? So you push it down, you hold it, push it down, you feel it, you'll feel it go through the leather. Not through your finger, through the leather. Watch your fingers. These awls are sharp, and I pull up like that. After a while, you'll see older people that could just whip it, and so a lot of times the last hole you did, see that the hole's through there, you just go a little bit more to the next one, and you pull down. And so you're just pulling enough and pushing just enough of that all through that your needle will fit through it easier, like that. If it doesn't, a lot of times, if you're having to use your needle to go through like that, and then you're pushing it down on the table, it'll still go through like that, but it's going to be hard when the cord is over it, because it's a little thicker than natural thread. That's when I grab a pair of pliers. You can get any kind of pliers. These ones are really long needle nose, but you grab that, and when you're pulling through, you got to be careful you don't hit somebody beside you or yourself,
Or snap
and you
the
pull it
needle.
through. A lot of times, yeah, as you said, you'll snap the needle. So, yeah, basically what you're doing is going about, what is that? I'd say about 1/4 apart there. Yeah, my holes on this bag right here are about 1/4 of an inch apart. I can eyeball it because I've been doing this for so long, that making moccasins, making all kinds of things with leather. And they actually make these things that have like 4 little teeth prongs on it. and you take a hammer and you could sit there and just go pank, and then you go to the next one, pank, and you just tapping them down. Use a cutting board because your mom's not going to like you if you kill her favorite kitchen table.
Yes.
Let me get back to this for a second.
Okay.
Oh, that purple leaves a lot of fillings.
And while you do that real quick, I just want to mention, we will be handing out, well, you guys are already have the activity in front of you when we are doing this, but you'll notice that you'll have pre-cut pieces, so you don't have to worry about measuring like Stephen is talking about.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if I think my needles will go through this smooth enough, so if you want to keep punching holes there.
Okay.
So, when we get a piece like this, I'm just gonna go through the motions here, actually do it. I would take knowing that you can either wrap stitch it like that and turn it inside out, or you could go in and out like that and either turn it inside out or not. It's up to you. I always say, art is what you make it. But what I wanted to show you was you can either use scissors or you can get a round cutter. I always wanted to get around to it. Now that I got around to it, I can do things. Yeah. So these cutters are very, very sharp. I've been using them for 5 years. No.
So maybe parents would have to supervise on
Yeah.
that part.
Yeah, otherwise you just need a pair of scissors for it. So what I'm gonna do on this one, yeah, that one kind of got edged out, but I'm actually just gonna take this piece and look to see where it would stop. Right about there. Sometimes I'll just take a ruler and I'll run a little pencil on it like that, and then I'll run it back and forth, the edge. And people have used it so many times, sometimes you don't need to find a pencil edge. Let me see how wide that is. This one's about 3 inches. I'm just gonna, and if you do need to, you take a very fine pencil, because pen will stay on there, and especially on white leather. So what I'm gonna do is just put a little mark right there. Hi, Mark. Then I come down here to make sure it's 3 inches across, about the middle of where I just marked it. Just a little spot so I can see it. I'm gonna bring my line down there. Make sure that's about right. You know, I always find it really interesting. You want to impress your teachers in math and such. I never would really like math, but there's math in everything we do every day. Especially if you're cooking, or pretty much everything we do every day, you're doing calculations in your mind, and everything's spatial. I'm spatial. Yeah, I would look at the rulers and I'd ask my dad, what are these little dots? What are these? And he said, count them. And I said, what? And he said, okay, from the 3 to the 4, count how many little spots there are. And I was like, okay, so there's like 16. He goes, that's a 16th. The tiny is a 16th. And then you go to the 8th. And then you go to the 4th. And may the 4th be with you. Hey, 3/4, you have an inch. So a 1/4 is just about a gap like that much. But yeah, rulers are interesting. Whoever came up with measurements by rule of thumb. Hey, when I was younger, my dad just said, you already seem to have measurements built in, because I could distance. I learned distance. Most athletes, most artists, most everybody can tell you body dynamics as far as their distances. But this looks straight enough, and whatever is hanging off to the edge or anything like that, you can trim later. So I'm gonna stand up for this just so I got the motion. And Pardon me, I'm left-handed, but hey, maybe it works out because you're looking at it from the other side, so. With this, if you're gonna use a cutter like this, if you weren't, I would say draw that pencil line all the way down. That way when you're using your scissors, and you know how to use scissors, it'd be a lot easier to see your line. But with a cutter, because I went from dot to dot like that, I bang this edge right up to it. It was designed for right-handed people, I know that, because I'm looking at it and I was like, oh, that would be so much easier. But I look at it, I know exactly where that edge is, and because this has a little metal edge on it too, it helps me out. So you want to keep that right up to the edge of that and go slow enough, but put your weight over that cutter and watch that front finger because you can nip it off. This is a razor blade on a roller. Basically, it's a razor wheel. And yeah, depending on how much pressure you put on it. See, I have to come back and I really look at it where my line was, so I'm not making it all janky on the edges there. It cut through, but sometimes I'll keep the ruler in place and I'll make a couple cuts like that. But you have to really watch that blade, because if you overlap or go, it's going to leave all kinds of shreds. So like with this, see, I'll cut it really nice. Now I need to cut it straight across. So I fold it up to make sure that I have it the size I want it. Yeah, and I can tell that the edge of this one before I cut it, even though I brought it up to the edge, it's still got a little bit hanging over. That's all right. So with this one, make sure I'm not cutting into the other piece. I'll probably go back and forth a couple times. One, I think I might have put enough effort into that. There you go. Coolness. And the reason why I cut it on the edge instead of just in the middle or anywhere, because you always want to space your leather out and make sure you're using the most you can out of it. And if you want to come back and make laces, you don't want to have had cut this in the middle and now you got little laces like that big. And that's another thing I could actually show you sometime with a small square. A lot of you guys out there who've ever seen some of my meetings before, I could take a square and then draw a circle and start from the edge and keep cutting around about a little more than a fourth and keep cutting in a circle and it'll come out a string. And that always helps. So, I know this is a little edgier than I wanted. Oh, there it is. I like how it hangs over just a little bit on this side. It doesn't make a difference if you're going to be flipping it inside out, but if you're doing wrap stitch, sometimes you want it to be right up to the edge. Yeah, that's a cleaner line. How you girls doing?
Doing good.
Good. Did you need the pliers at all to pull that through?
You know, I
Make
don't.
it easier?
This material is very easy to work with.
Nice.
It's not like that's like you were.
Yeah, that
this
thick.
is very thick.
It is. This is actually, you can make moccasin tops out of these.
That's nice.
Actually, this is thin, but it's really strong. It's like
Yes,
super
it
strong.
is.
This is very good grade. The fact that you can get through it and the fact that it's very strong. This is super awesome moccasin leather. But if you want it thicker, you run through the thorns. The cavalry can't chase you if you're running through the cactus. Their horses will stop.
Yeah, so for mine, what I did was I doubled it like this, and the holes that were already on one side, I went through them to match up on the other side.
Yeah.
But just pressing in wasn't good enough, I have to actually go back and find all those holes
Yeah.
and press in again to make the hole bigger,
Yeah.
so the needle can go through.
Yeah, the reason why the holes weren't bigger was because leather comes back together. You know, if you didn't punch a hole out of it and cut that hole out with a hole puncher,
Yeah,
the fact that you just stabbed it, it's
Yeah.
gonna come back together because that's its natural way,
yeah,
you know.
so,
A lot of times you'll see blemishes on hides and such. It's because that animal got cut
yeah.
or got stuck with a stick or something and it healed over. You know, we keloid.
Yeah.
If you need, there was a hammer around here.
There is
You can
actually,
Oh,
tap
no,
it.
actually, it's fine.
Okay.
Like,
okay.
I could press through.
Press through and then pull it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing right now.
That's one thing, in time, you learn so many different techniques on, you know, and you find out what works for you. Like my wrist, sometimes it hurts, so instead of pushing down like that and putting the pressure on my wrist, I just pull the hole and then just pull the leather back, you know, and that's why I can't. One time I told one of my old friends, and always talk to the old people, hey, wow, I'm an old person now, but pliers. I was like really trying to pull this needle through on some leather, and my friend Scott, Nikki Buffalo Child, what are you working on? I said, I can get this through here, and I'm pushing through, and I found a piece of wood, so I push my needle through, and I wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. He reaches in his bag. He had always had a bag beside him. He reaches in his bag, and he hands me a pair of pliers. And I'm all, wow. Bing. So I grabbed the pliers and wiggled it, pulled it out. So there you go. So, that wasn't a sew joke, I'm sorry. Needle, thread, and pull. This is what you do. This is how you do. Oh, okay, before I even string the needle, a lot of times people are like, I can't tie the knot right. What I do is I'll grab the end like that. If you're left-handed, right-handed, grab the end like that. What I do is I grab the string and I just twist it around, right? Twist it in just like a little circle like that, just so it underlaps. I grab the end of the thread like that, bring it over. So you're basically just wrapping it around your fingers. Now if you need to double knot it, that's the fun part because you want it to match up with that knot. You don't want a knot over here, knot over here, knot over here. So what I do is the same thing. I'll just grab it and I'll see how it's like that, twist it so that thread's behind wherever you're going to go through. You can actually just pull it through. And now what you're going to do is you're going to hold that end piece and you're going to slowly manipulate it and look and say, where's my knot? Right there. And you just slowly manipulate that big circle up there. And as it gets closer, you want it to, that's why I use my thumbnails and fingernails. Everybody else, why do you have long nails? You play guitar? I said, no, it's for my artwork and scratching. But yeah, double knot there. Now, because this is waxed cord, it works better. If you don't have waxed cord, if you have like nylon thread or something like that, get a hold of some beeswax, or grab a candle or something that might work, and give it a little lighter to it, or just breathe on it to make it hot. And then if you wax the front of the thread like that, it'll get stiffer, and you can just smash it. You can squish the tip like that, or even take something. I usually take my fingernail and flatten it out so it's thinner. With these needles that you'll probably be getting there, they've got a pretty good size eye on them. And
Yeah, these needles are specifically for leather, so they have a sharper point
yeah,
in order to go into the leather.
yeah. A lot of times, people will be really frustrated trying to thread a needle. I say hold your thread still if you can, and bring the needle to it. Or if you're really good at that, you can do that. But anybody who's a bead worker and trying to thread a beading needle, you know what I'm talking about. You're going to want to really wax the tip of that thread and flatten it out and get it in there. Or you can be like my friend who said, hey, I'll give you $5 if you bead like 20, thread like 20 needles for me. It's like, okay.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe you can explain to them about when you sew inside out, which side you want on the outside?
Yeah, that's a very good question. See how this side's darker and it seems to be fuzzier? That would have been the inside. If you want the outside, what you're gonna do is, where's your holes? Here we go. There's our holes right there. If you want the dark side, you're gonna be working with the lighter side facing you. So when you flip it inside out, now it's the dark side, and it's what we call hidden seam. You don't see where you sewed it together because now it's folded over, and you're just looking at the seam like that, like it's bent in. So, do you want the dark side or the light side out?
I'm not sure. What do you suggest?
Whatever I suggest, you're gonna go the other way, so.
I mean, I like the dark side, but
Yeah.
it's more fuzzier, so I was wondering if the light side's better for the outside.
Yeah.
I like the light side on the outside.
Yeah.
Go to the
But that's
light,
what I would
Kathy.
do.
Yeah.
Go to the light, Kathy.
Can I see the dark side? Because I know, I have a feeling
Here.
that would rub off, like if you have it attached to your clothes, the little pieces would come off onto your clothes.
Yeah,
correct?
but in time, that'll rub off too, so I mean,
Yeah, I like the dark side out.
okay. Dark side out?
Yeah,
All right, then you're gonna be sewing
just because
it.
it reminds me of choke cherries.
I was just gonna say, this looks like choke cherries, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're gonna sew it with the light side out. That way, when you flip it inside
Okay.
out, you're getting dark.
Okay. Thank
Which
you.
is a good point when you're doing moccasins. My friend, he's like, man, cut out my moccasin patterns. I was all gung-ho on it, wasn't paying attention. I said, you sewed the first one, then sewed the second one without matching? He goes, yep. And I said, you dancing with 2 left feet now? He said, yep. Always, if you're doing moccasins, make sure you look at the second one before you start it, because you might have to start it inside out the other way. So, if that makes sense to you. So with this one, yeah, even this one, even though it's almost the same on double side, this side's a little fuzzier, this side's a little lighter color, but I like the fuzzy side. And I don't know if I want to show you wrap stitch, or even wrap stitch, you turn it inside out, it'll do the same thing. And there's in and out stitch. So like with in and out stitch, what you're doing is, I'll show you on this one really fast. In and out stitch, and I like to fold it at the bottom and start from the bottom now. Okay. Let's see if I can get this through both. There we go. So in and out stitch would be just like staying down about a little bit on the edge. So you'd be going in and out. So, and the thing about this, if you're doing in and out, is the other side's trying to wiggle. So you kind of want to push it in a little bit more or manage it. That's why I say sometimes if you need to, depending on how you're looking at things, you could take a little pencil and just make your holes on one side so you know where you're going, what you're hitting. So you flip it over, and because only one side's being sewn right now, the other side's going to look like it keeps bending and wrapping. So you want to keep kind of manipulating it back to the shape you're going to want it, because sometimes you'll sew it and it'll start being all sideways and such. So you keep kind of like pressing it up and making sure it kind of looks up like that. And hide usually stretches, especially deer hide. It'll flex and stretch. So So I used to tell people if they were making moccasins and such to really pay attention to how much hide they were using, because they would think they were going to be tight, and then the hide stretches, and then they're like, how come my moccasins feel like baggy socks? And I was like, because deer hide stretches. So I tell them if they get them wet a little bit, sometimes it'll shrink. Get them wet, keep them on, wear them in the sun for a little bit, and it'll shrink back to your feet. My friend used to do that with his brand new track shoes. Every time he'd get new track shoes, he'd sit in the tub with his brand new shoes, and his mom would freak out. Say, no, I'm fitting them to my feet.
So there's a lot that goes into play,
Yeah.
you know, with the material that we're using.
Exactly.
We really have to hold on to it.
Yeah.
And don't get frustrated, because it does take a while to get, you know, you're gonna make mistakes. I've made mistakes. This is only making my third pouch that I've made out of this material.
Awesome,
And
you're doing wrap stitch.
I am, and this is the first time I've done wrap,
Yeah.
I have done wrap stitch.
Yeah.
And it's a little tricky, and Stephen's right, it does move a lot. And so just be patient and take your time with your fingers being slow. Don't go, you know, don't try to do it fast.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, you know, it's very relaxing.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
And you're doing that awesome too, the way, because you know when you're doing wrap stitch, you kind of got to stretch it out a little bit so it keeps it
Yes.
straight. Otherwise it'll bunch up. And
Yeah,
such.
I notice I kind of stop, and then
Yeah.
I'll, you know, and then I pull.
Yeah.
But it does maneuver a lot. And
Yeah.
so you just gotta really just take your time with it, have fun with it.
I'm doing wrap stitch as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Take-
I like that. Yeah. See, that's why because it's a bigger pouch,
Mhm.
I put that a little farther apart.
Mhm.
See how it's farther apart like that? It's about a fourth
I can
apart.
show Julie as well.
Yeah. Here, watch that needle.
Oh, okay, oh yeah, that is farther apart than,
Yeah.
mine are
Well,
really,
see, because that is
but it's a
proper the
different
way if you're-
material too.
Yeah, and if you're putting tobacco in it,
Yes,
it's
and
not
that's
gonna
what I
fly
plan to
out
do
the
with this
sides.
one, yes.
and with this, because she's doing it tight, same thing, it'll still hold it in place.
Yeah,
And if I tell people, I tell people a lot, if they want it even tighter, once they get to the bottom, they can come back up and crisscross wrap stitching it, so it double tightens it.
nice.
So this right here is basically the in and out stitch. So you can put your in and out fries in there and hey, you know.
Jokester. Stephen is a jokester.
It's not my fault. I saw a coyote the other day. We were sitting in the line at the burrito store, and this coyote must have thought it was a car because it came through the intersection and just ran up the street.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, oh my goodness. I was like, it was a big coyote.
I like the way you said burritos.
What's that?
It's a burrito store.
I like that you said burritos.
Burrito store. I don't buy anything else from there. Okay, a Jamaica store.
You mean the tobacco? I can't.
Well, I didn't know if we were allowed to do commercials here, so. Oscars, they make
That's all
really
right.
good chili relleno. That's why the coyote was running so fast? Oh gosh.
This is one thing I love about sewing in a group because
Yeah.
it's so relaxing and you can really have a conversation and actually enjoy it and do your work still,
Yeah.
you know.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
when I was in my younger days, we used to have a Indian center in Hawaii because there were so many natives from the military base, and a lot that just moved over there anyway, and they would find each other, and we'd put out flyers after a while about the Indian center, and people would just show up, and exactly what you said. You know, the ladies would be sitting around doing their sewing and beadwork and such, and, you know, the kids are running around and, you know, playing and tag, and I was right at that age. I think it was like about, like 12 or 13, and I just remember watching one of my friends, and I said, hey, can I learn that? She said, oh, sure. So I would sit there and listen to them and watch them. them ladies are cracking jokes the whole time. But it was really fun to, just the social activity of it, you know. I wish I was actually there with you, with a whole room full of people teaching, but you know, the times we're living in right now. We'll be back to that.
Definitely.
Started getting close, but you know, that's what people, it's up to them if they want to take care of it the way they want to take care of it.
I know with our, because you had mentioned, because Kathy, you're our 2B youth educator, cultural educator for 2B.
Yeah.
And we've made pouches with the youth in the past. And it's really fun to see the kids sit down with, you know, the pieces and the thread.
Yeah.
And just see them focus. And just, you know, just doing a simple sewing on just to sew the sides, you know. They're not familiar with, you know, the thread and the needle and all this. So it's really cool to see that, because, you know, kids nowadays are on their phones, and I get it, you know, technology is the in thing, but you know, when you have this and you're sitting with your family together and you have all this and you're just, you know, you get to talk about, hey Mom, you remember the time when we did this, or you talk about the good, you know, times when we were together hanging out. And
Totally.
it's really fun to have that one-on-one time with family again.
Definitely.
And I know I've mentioned this before in our last class when we were doing our talking circle. And so these times right now are the perfect time to touch base and get back with family. That's
To
key.
reconnect.
Reconnect, yeah,
Yes.
thank you, that's that word I'm looking for.
Exactly.
When I sit here as well, like I think about the animals. So like Stephen was talking about, some are deer hide, some are buffalo hide, some are moose hide, and I actually see that animal in its, you know, living form, and it's meditative. Like I just can picture that in my mind as I'm working. And when we think about energy, like I feel that these carry the energy of those animals. So if it's a deer hide, it has that energy of the deer. Buffalo, for my tribe, the Lakota, we believe the buffalo is sustenance, it's strength. So I feel like we embody those characteristics as well, you know, from those animals.
Yeah.
And same thing with the plant medicine that we carry in our pouches, or crystals, you know. There's one crystal that's called smoky quartz, and it's very grounding. So if you carry a crystal in your pouch, you know, specifically that one, it would help ground you.
Yeah.
These crystals in front of us, they're rose quartz from my sacred lands and territories in South Dakota, the Black Hills. And rose quartz, it helps with the heart. So it's healing, it's unconditional love. So if you were to carry a crystal such as a rose quartz, then you would feel that unconditional love. So you can put anything in these pouches that are symbolic to you. For example, in my pipe bag that I carry for dancing, I have my grandfather's dog tags, you know, and I never got to meet him, but I feel like this is my connection to him. Like he carried these as a warrior, and I really feel grateful, and I found them in my mother's items when she passed away. So I'm very happy to have those.
Awesome.
So keeping things from your ancestors in those pouches as well. How about you, Julie? Are there any special things that you carry in your pouches?
I do have a pouch that's has special crystals in there for grounding and protection and stuff like that. I keep that with me. I keep it in my car actually, with me. I try to keep it with me at all times. And then I do have one with tobacco mixture that we had made from one of our classes before with the kiddos, and I still have some left over in that.
Good.
And this one, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this one yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last one, I had one that I made a long time ago in a class, and I had decided to paint a little medicine wheel on it, and then after I made it, I'm like, oh, what should I do with this, you know? So I filled it full of tobacco, and then I wound up giving it to my older brother. You know, he was like, oh, thanks. You know, so I said, yeah, just keep this, you know, in your ride, keep you conscious, keep you safe, you know. Depends on what you want to use it for. And I said, it's yours now. So, and then just what was it, like last year, he was moving, and he knew that everything that he was taking out of storage, he bequeathed me. I like that $1 million word. He bequeathed me quite a few things from his regalia and hides and things like that he knew I could use. He says, you could use a lot of this stuff. He says, there's a lot of materials and beads too. And the pouch was in one of the things. And he said, yeah, the salt water would probably eat this thing up. So I was like, nice. And so I had it for a very short time, and put tobacco mixture that Kat made, the natural tobacco mixture. Ow, I'm in the club again, just stabbed myself. And so I had it for a bit, and then just recently went to a ceremony, as you will, for a friend, and saw one of my friends there that was also partaking of this transition, and I just felt compelled, and I said, here you go, brother. So I said, here's a pouch for you. And he was like, oh, wow, thanks, man, appreciate that. And that's what, it's what you do, you know, we like to see the expression on people's face while we're still alive in time. You know, I know a lot of times when people pass on, you know, they give their possessions away, but like in California tribes, a lot of the people, they take all their possessions and burn them. They don't give them away, they burn them. And this way there's no arguments over people's possessions, and it keeps the families, you know, peaceful. Because some people, you know, it's just their way. But with other people, you know, like Grandpa said, we like to give away things in our time while we're still here. And that way we know who it went to. And we get to see the look on their face. You know, and it can be any time. You know, it doesn't have to be a special holiday of somebody else's choice. It can be any time. Every day is a holiday, every meal's a feast, my dad said. I like that. And so what I did on this, as I said, doing that in and out stitch, when I got to the top, I just came back and doubled back through the holes that were already there. So one side has a thread and the other side has where the space was on the opposite side, it has a thread too. And so now when I get to the bottom here, I'm gonna tie it off again. I'm actually going to go in and out a couple times, because at the bottom a lot of times the corners, you know, they're not tight enough, and tobacco and stuff will get really powdery and start leaking out, and you wonder why your clothes has all this stuff on it. You're being blessed, hey?
Mm-hmm. I actually have a tobacco pouch in my glove compartment, and when we travel, I will take it out through each territory we travel through.
Yeah.
So as we're going through Kumeyaay territory, I'll drop some tobacco for the ancestors and the people and just say a prayer for everybody. And then go on to the Ahachiman territory and drop tobacco. And then go into Tongva territory, drop the tobacco. Go into Chumash territory, drop the tobacco. So I'm honoring each tribal territories as I'm traveling. So I really like having a tobacco pouch in my glove compartment and keeping it filled for those specific reasons.
Yeah. Like, for example, just the other night when we were coming back from Satwiwa, we had done a performance up there, a little get together for the people and danced. And on the way back, I checked my messages, and my brother said, "Hey man," he said, "I was driving home and I saw a hawk," and I thought, "Oh, cool, yeah." He looked up and saw a hawk. It wasn't that he looked up and saw a hawk. He saw a hawk. He goes, "It was on the side of the road on the 125 at the end of the 125 before you go towards my house," and I was like, "Oh." And he said, "Yeah, I don't know if it's salvageable. It looked like it'd been hit a few times." And I felt bad, and I said, "Well, if I remember, I'll try to stop by and check. I'm on my way back from Ventura." And sure enough, I remembered, so I got off by the college exit and doubled back, came back down the 125, and there it was. And as I was getting out to look at it, I look over and I see Kathy automatically pulling out her tobacco pouch and reaching in and pulling some out. And she's throwing it out the window and turns towards me and throws some out towards that way. And I was like, cool. And yeah, he was right. There wasn't much. It'd been run over pretty much a lot of times, but it did have some feathers that were salvageable. So I brought it home, and again, abalone bowl with some smudge and more tobacco prayers over it. And it was interesting because I was like, well, there weren't very many feathers, but I remember picking up a red tail off the side there. The next morning, he said, "Go back." I'm like, what? I thought I was talking to myself. I said, "No, you're not. Go back." And so I went back, and there was more tail feathers in the bushes. So the way it got hit, its tail feathers got blown the other way, so they didn't get run over. So you got to really make sure you wash them and take care of them, and make sure. I usually throw a little peroxide in there so they don't have any kind of contaminants on them. And I always pray over any feathers I get for about a year before I use them. It's kind of like keeping the spirit. So yeah, these tobacco pouches, a lot of times they get sprinkled over coyotes off the side of the road. Not that I scrape up coyotes, I leave them there, but anything that I see that's been hit, reach in and pull a little tobacco out. I keep little pouches with stones or whatever I have, or a lot of times if I do a carving, if I have time, I'll make a pouch and put the carving in a pouch for the person. And I tell them, you don't have to keep it in that pouch. You can use the pouch for something else. But I just wanted to give it to you that way. Thank you for getting this beautiful hide to work with, because that stuff's tough.
I like it though.
I know you do.
I really do. I like, pressing in the holes and, just taking my time with it. It's, you're creating something, and when you use your mind and your energy to create it, it always feels good, I don't like instant gratification because I feel like that's too easy, that's simple. Like when something takes a little bit of, time and effort on your part, it always feels better to me. Like I feel better about it. It's a accomplishment. You can do it. And working with the leather, the thickness of it, it's there's always lessons in everything. So I just take my time with it. And I mean, just us sitting here, I'm almost done.
Yeah.
So I did earlier, I did the holes on the other side, and it still wouldn't go through, so I'm kind of just doing it again.
Yeah.
I go through the hole that's on this side, and then I push through on the other side and make sure your leather is evened up,
Yeah.
and then I push it through. So
Yeah, a lot of times what I'll do is see like this awl right here. The tip, the tip is about the same on the tip, but then as you go maybe about 4th and 16th down, it gets thicker. So when you punch it and then pull it out, it makes it easier for that needle to go through.
Yeah, when you're working with thick leather and it all is your best friend, and a pliers, a pair of pliers.
Yep. Give it your all. Right?
One time, someone gifted Stephen and I a whole buffalo hide, and I didn't wanna, cut it up. It wasn't the type that had fur on it. It was leather like this. And it was at that time where one of our daughters was ready to do her puberty ceremony. So we used it in the ceremony. And we had her sit on it, and we had elders come and give their teachings to both our daughters, as a matter of fact. So that hide is very special to me, and who knows, maybe we'll use it for some grandchildren. So sometimes when you have a hide and it's full, it's gifted to you, think about that. Think about your ceremonies that you may want to have on those hides as well. You don't always have to cut them up, especially if they're really beautiful hides.
It's pretty amazing how you can do so much with animal hide. And different cultures, there's different animals that are more, that they'll use for their tribes more than other tribes. Every tribe
Yes.
uses different,
Yeah.
whatever is on their, their land.
Yeah,
They fit into. So
exactly.
it's just pretty cool it's pretty amazing that these were animals at one time, and then the significance and the purpose of what we use these
Yeah.
hides for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really neat.
It's like a lot of times antelope or deer hides. It'd take quite a few of them to make a teepee, but they didn't make their teepees really large back then. Basically, about 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8 deer hides would make a good sized teepee. Buffalo hide, yeah, you'd probably make 4 buffalo hides, 5 buffalo hides would make a good sized teepee. And when they were traveling, they liked smaller teepees, but hides were really heavy. And but the interesting thing is, in time, because of the smoke flaps on a hide, when they were get sooted out, in time they would take the top parts of those smoke flaps and they would make their winter moccasins, because all that carbon and soot would waterproof the flaps on top, and so they would cut those out to make moccasins for the winter time.
Oh, that's wild.
And they would just bear grease them so the soot wouldn't come off. They'd just bear grease them so it would just lock in that. And the grease and the soot would just lock it in tight.
I didn't even
Water
know that.
moccasins.
That's
Could you
amazing.
help me with the corner?
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
So that will be the bottom, the other side will be the top, because it seems wider on that
Okay,
side.
okay. So what, are you just tying it off, or?
Continuing, I still have to make the holes, but I'm not sure how you said to do a corner on the edge, remember, on the bottom?
Oh, yeah,
So,
like you want to round it so it's not?
yeah,
Okay.
you need these things.
Yeah, with harder leather, a lot of times you want to round that. Do you have enough to go? Yeah, you do. All right, so. Yeah, one of the the best hides, really hard to get. They're very elusive because they know how to hide. Corny jokes.
Or dad jokes, as our daughters call them.
Oh, you think dad jokes are sad jokes? Just native dad jokes are the worst.
I know I've seen with your tribe, Julie, in Alaska, because it's so cold, they'll make seal pants, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and those are so cool looking to me. And I'm
Mhm.
sure they serve a purpose as far as keeping you from freezing, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And probably getting I would probably assume getting wet or soaked too, right? Because the steel's in that.
Yeah.
Like waterproof.
Yes.
Yeah.
Steel's got their built-in wetsuit.
That's wild. It's just wild.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I love learning all this stuff.
Yes, and one of Stephen's tribes, tell them about the moccasins that are called cactus kickers, how they have that thing up on, in front of it.
With my Nana side, the Apache side, you know how that rawhide, the thick, untreated, if it's not brain tanned and turned into leather, the hide will actually turn very hard. And so what they do with that rawhide to make what they call rawhide, because it's not treated.
What they use for drums, right?
Yeah, what they make drums out of, well, moccasin soles, they actually make the thicker ones. A lot of times with the Apache moccasins, you'll see and like with the Dene related, they're thick moccasin soles. Well, with our people, we would put that circle on the front. When you cut out the hide, you would keep that circle and bend it up. And they're called cactus kickers because you could run through the cactus and you're not stubbing your toe. Thorns and stuff aren't hitting you in the feet. And I thought that was really cool. So
Yeah, I love the idea of each tribe, uses the hides and the leather
Yeah.
specifically for the environment.
when when we were in Germany, a man came up to me and he said, "Hey, I had an extra piece," and he gave me a roll about that wide. And when you stretch it out, it was about that long. And he said he had made a drum and a shield, but that he had an extra piece, and he thought if I could use it for whatever. So okay. And so we talked for a while, and then he said that I could either cut it into strands for tie downs and stuff, and I said, "Oh, I'm looking at moccasin soles here," and he said, "Yeah, it probably would be pretty good for moccasin soles." And I said, "How much did you treat it?" And he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "How many times did you pound it?" He just kind of tilted his head, and he said, "No, I got it like this." And I said, "Okay." So what I did was I soaked it in water for 2 days. Then I took a round rock, because I didn't want sharp edges to cut into the rawhide. I wanted the rawhide to not have any dings in it because it'll fall apart. And so I would pound it with that round rock, and it'd get really thin, and then I'd soak it again. And so for like a month I did that. And by the 4th time pounding it and then setting it out to dry, it wouldn't shrink anymore. I measured it, and when it dried out, it shrank. And then I soaked it again, and I watched it, and it stayed in that position. And I was like, "Oh, it's not shrinking anymore." I was like, "Cool." So I soaked it before I poked all the holes, because it was really tight rawhide. I had those moccasin soles for 6 years on my moccasins. They never wore out. Then I went to a powwow, and they sprayed the parking lot with oil, not water like most people did. Sprayed it with oil to keep the dirt down. And the next morning after I was dancing, I looked over at my moccasins and they're like this. And so I had to cut my moccasins off of these crumpled up rawhide. And even though I soaked it, they wouldn't come back to normal. And I told the powwow directors, "What happened? How come my moccasins shrink? What's on the parking lot that they were spraying?" And they said, "Oh," so they gave me some money to go get some hide. And I said, "Thank you." And, the guy said, "You should have known better." And I said, "Hey, these things were 6 years old, and they never shrink. I walk through the water in the rain, and people would tell me at the powwows, 'Hey, it's getting wet outside. You should, go change your moccasins,' because everybody was wearing those water shoes back then with the beadwork over it, and tennis shoes with beadwork over it." And I told him, "No, these would be fine." And the next day, this guy goes, "I'll bet you $50 tomorrow your moccasins are shrank." I said, "Okay." The next day, I walked up to him, I said, "You got that 50? "How the heck are they not shrank?" I said, "It's buffalo hide, and it's rawhide, and I'll show you how to treat your rawhide." So he said that was $50 well spent. Next time I saw him, he had moccasins. it was getting misty, as California powwows do at night. He's all, check these out. But that's what we do, we share, you know. Nowadays, you can Google that stuff, and I don't know if you would be able to find that. My friend Todd, his dad and uncle are always going, hey Todd, ask Google. I always think of that and laugh. Ask Google like it's his best friend or something.
It's funny, I find myself Googling things all the time now.
Oh yeah.
It's so weird. It's just so weird to have this thing so the palm of your hands.
Exactly.
Just bam, 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 bam. You know, if you're in the kitchen and you just need a quick little, what can I do with hot peppers? I have a whole bunch of serranos. Just like this
Yes.
weekend, I had a whole bunch of serranos. So I fried them up with some salt and then added some lemon juice and then had it as a side for our dishes this weekend. I made fried rice and we made sausage sandwiches with peppers, and hey man, I was like, hey, I just got rid of this whole bag without it going to waste, because they're always going to waste. But
Nice.
Google's like crazy. It's like, it's cool and it can, and there's downfalls to Google too. You don't listen to a lot of
Oh yeah.
Don't Google anything that's got health things with health issues. Don't ever Google anything.
Scary.
You know,
You'll
and
always get different opinions.
yes, please.
Yeah.
You
Can
know,
you help me
Google's
with
fun.
this part?
But,
Like
yeah.
ending it and then adding a new one,
Yeah.
or I guess tying off the end.
Oh, it got
part.
short, yeah, I was right, it did, yeah, well, we can do on that, see, because she ran out of the thread.
Yes, I didn't
So-
make it all the way.
A lot of times what you can do, especially because it's sinew, you can actually tie it off together, or you can tie a knot or run it back through. It depends, like with a lot of times sewing, I'll really kind of look how far I need to go, and I'll run it back through or backwards. But with this one, I think what we'll do is just tie it together. See how that works out here. Because it's waxed cord, it should work. The thing about waxed cord, when we say sinew, this is artificial sinew, which means it's not deer tendon, not buffalo tendon, not frog tendon. No, we never use frog tendon. You know how many frog hides it takes to make a teepee? 1,000. Oh. All right. Okay, so what I was in the process of is I tied these two together because she's going to need some extra cord to finish sewing this up and then backtracking on the bottom to make it stronger. She doesn't necessarily have to go all the way up unless she wants to, but at least go across and up about 1 inch or 2 right there. So because I tied that off, and I know with the waxed cord sinew, when I say sinew, because they used to use the deer tendons, buffalo tendons and such, no frog tendons. The nylon is what they use nowadays, and they make it so, this one's green, but this one right here, they make it so you can split it up into thread size. This type usually will split up into 4 sections. You can get it really thin. I mean, actually to the point of like what deer tendon actually does. See how it frays out, it splits up, and then you can just string a long one. Or you can leave it thick like that if you're sewing something that really needs the strength. A lot of times people will do their moccasin soles. You roll it like that, you twist it. If you put a piece of leather on your pants so you're not getting wax all over your pants, you can actually roll it. And that's what I would do with real sinew or artificial sinew, and I would roll it with a strand about that much, and because you're rolling it, it's going to shrink a little bit. And I would do like 3 or 4 of the thick ones, and those would make bowstrings, because when you wrap it back around and then you tie it in with the other end, and so you would use that as a bowstring. And then I even have an old traditional bow that's sinew backed, and with a type of glue that's more like a shellac that kept that sinew back together. It was super strong, so the wood wouldn't snap, but the sinew would just keep it really That's why that when they say sinewy, you know, like they're really sinewy, like cats are very flexible, constantly stretching. So back to this piece. I'm going to really pay attention to what I'm doing here on this, because if you melt it too much, it's going to melt it and you're going to lose your piece. So
We're coming to the end of our class.
yes, we are.
So any last words, Julie?
Well, I am almost done. I'm gonna go through this one little piece and I'll show you all what my pouch looks like. Now, I'm not gonna be done with this because I do plan on adding beads to my pouch, and maybe like Stephen was saying, if you cut a certain way into this, you can make string. And so I might have like, you know, things that dangle here and then add beads to.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I got a lot of little ideas that I might do, maybe even add shells to the pouch, because I like the ocean and shells, I just love that anyway, that natural. You, and Stephen had said you can paint too, you can paint this, you know, you can dye it or a color if you like it a certain way, or a certain color that you like your favorite. You can do a lot to it. And we hope that you guys really do finish your pouch. This is a really good start to teaching you guys the significance of medicine pouches and many ways you can use them. And I'm gonna go ahead and tie this off now.
And I want to say thank you to Julie for participating in making the leather pouches, and for Stephen for doing this tutorial. He's an amazing artist and cultural educator as well. So thank you, Stephen,
You're welcome.
for showing the youth and families how to make these tobacco pouches, or you could use it for anything. Crystals, tobacco, sacred objects, anything you would like to put inside. And thank you everybody for joining in this class. And if you have any questions as you're making your tobacco pouches, you're always welcome to call us here at SCARE and ask us any questions. But thank you again. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Heidi. I'm the counseling coordinator here at SCARE, and I'm here to teach you all how to do the tie-dye masks craft that was in with all of your goodies. And I have my son here. Can you tell him what your name is?
My name is Quentin.
And how old are you, Quentin?
I am 5.
Right, and what grade did you start this week?
I started kindergarten.
Yes, you did. He started kindergarten this week. It's been a very big week for us. So I'm just going to kind of get started with you all. You should have received gloves, masks, some rubber bands, these cool bottles for tie dyeing. And I want to start off by making sure, I don't know if you're like me, you kind of want it to stay clean in your house. So what we did was we lined our table here with a trash bag. And then on top of that, we put paper towels. So I would definitely recommend doing that. If you want to do spirals, I'm not like, based off of Google, what they recommend you doing, and I'm going to put this down here so that you can see, this is our covered work surface. So you would lay your mask down. Hopefully y'all can see that. Sorry, it's white. Kind of pinch the bottom and twirl it around. It'll look like a little bit of a flower. It's a little bit harder because it's a smaller surface than, say, a t-shirt, but I'm sure it'll still do the job. And then once you get that flower shape, you just kind of take the rubber band and go around it to hold. So it kind of looks flowery in the middle, and then just wrap the other stuff around, and then use another couple either 1 or 2 rubber bands just to hold it more so in place. This is probably a better looking example. I hope you can all see that. And then lay them on your paper towels so that you can start tie-dyeing. We've already spilled a little, so I can definitely tell that you don't want to wear any fabrics. You know, make sure your kids are in clothes that you don't mind if this stuff spills on. You're good, right? And then we will get started. So you got your gloves, right? Quentin, do you have your gloves on? Want to show them? Perfect. And so what I'm going to have him do is, got a couple of our masks all balled up and ready to go. Which color do you want to start with? Kind of a teal color. Okay. So you just, in order to get this whole thing, you just fill it with water all the way to the top, shake it up a little bit, and then make sure that the powder at the bottom has dissolved. Leave it for a second. I'm gonna put my gloves on as I'm saying this because I can all over the place. And then, are you ready? Okay. So mommy's gonna show you how to do it first, and then I'm gonna have you do a little too. Deal? We'll lay this one out here. And just take the little squirt bottle off, and then you just begin by pouring it on.
I want to do it.
Okay, your turn. Gently. What do you think?
I want to do a different color.
Okay, which color now?
Yellow.
Okay, we got a yellow one too. So we're gonna do a whole bunch of different colors. And then you kind of just use your creativity to do a bunch of different colors all over the place, allowing the fabrics to be kind of soaked in. He's enjoying himself. We'll see how long this lasts for. And then, you know, just make sure that the dye is penetrated into the folds. You don't want too much because then it'll kind of start bleeding together. But at the same time, this is about, you know, having fun. So they'll figure it out. And then when we're all done here, it's probably going to be a while. Leave it on the table, please. We'll wrap the dyed fabric with plastic wrap to keep it damp and let it soak overnight. And then what we will do is, we're probably going to be working on this for a while. I don't think y'all need to continue watching us, but tomorrow will show you, okay, this one now, what our finished products look like. And it's getting messy, so definitely put some coverage as on your table, but having a good time. And so we'll probably be here for a little while dyeing all the different masks. I hope you all are able to use them. We miss you all at Scare, and we're gonna let these soak overnight, and then we will show you our finished products tomorrow. Have fun working with your kids on this. Hi everyone, we just wanted to show you our finished products. So the masks turned out really good. Quentin, do you want to show them? Oh, what an awesome job. So what we did is we allowed them to soak. We like bright colors, so we let them soak overnight. And then in the morning, I rinsed them off so that the water was clean and cut off the rubber bands. And then I just let them hang out to dry. I think they recommend that you wash them a couple times because you probably don't want the dye on your face. Hopefully your masks turned out as good as ours did. It was a really fun project.
I already showed them.
You did? Okay, thank you for showing them. And that you all have a good time doing the craft.